guys, so today's video is over a 11-year-old girl who went missing July 15th, 1999 from Richmond Heights, Missouri. She absolutely loved babies. She was described as very kind and independent, and she was actually staying with some family friends while babysitting their 2-month-old infant. And the names of the parents were Christopher and Dana. And these aren't Heather's parents, these were Heather's family friends and the parents of the infant that that Heather was watching. So one night Heather is watching the baby, and the mom, Dana, was working at a convenience store overnight, and the father was actually out drinking by the lake. And around 4 a.m. the father came home, or reportedly came home, to his infant screaming, and he was wondering why Heather wasn't taking care of the baby, because that is what she had been hired for. So he went to look for Heather, and that is whenever he discovered he could not find Heather anywhere. So Christopher called Dana at the gas station to check and see, if something had went wrong, or if she knew that Heather was going home for some apparent reason. And it is rumored to be said that she'd actually been staying at Dana and Christopher's house for about a week, because she was 12 years old and having a little bit of problems with her mom. She'd actually just been caught smoking for the first time by her mother, and she was good family friends with these people. So Christopher had called Dana, and Dana was like, no, she's definitely missing. Let's call the police. So the weird set of events is that Chris didn't call the police, Dana did, and there's speculations that the reason Chris didn't call the police is because he was maybe still searching, maybe asking neighbors and going and seeing if anyone had seen anything, and so Dana called. But some people speculate and think that this is extremely odd that he didn't call, because maybe there was no emotion, maybe he couldn't show emotion, maybe he had done something or knew something, and so it would be easier for Dana to call, because if for some reason Chris was involved, he didn't want to call and seem guilty by having a recording of that 911 phone call, if that makes sense. So there's speculations on both sides and rumors on both sides of the reason Chris didn't call the police. And I can see both sides, so I'm not really sure what I believe on that aspect. And police ended up showing up around 5 a.m. at the residence of Christopher and Dana, which is where Heather had been last seen and last reported known that she was there. The cops ended up searching the entire apartment, the entire apartment building, the whole complex, and they actually found some really weird evidence. The first thing that they noticed is that there was a white blanket missing from Christopher and Dana's house, and it was a white kind of floral pattern blanket, and this was said and known to be the blanket that Heather would have been using while staying at the residence. So another piece of evidence that was extremely odd is that they found an entire methamphetamines lab in the basement of this apartment complex. So there's a lot of rumors and a lot of speculation that perhaps Heather stumbled upon these people and stumbled upon the meth lab at some point. She could have seen this meth lab and been killed on the spot and then taken away, and this really didn't bring any good evidence or any leads for Heather. They just kind of had some evidence and some theories on what might have happened to her. There was absolutely no other evidence besides a little bit of blood in the apartment. And they tested the blood, and the blood was confirmed to be that of Heather's. Now, another thing that they found really weird was they looked at all of the calls they had received between the time Heather was missing and the time the missing report was made. And right around the time that Heather was missing, there was actually a report of a witness came forward and said to have seen a man carrying out a child that seemed to be limp in the arms, wrapped in a white floral blanket. And the description of the blanket obviously matched the description of the one that was missing from Christopher and Dana's home. So this alarmed authorities, because now they have huge reason to believe that Heather was taken by someone. The person reporting to have witnessed this said that the body was either asleep or lifeless because it was not moving. Therefore, Heather had either already been killed or knocked unconscious, or maybe she was asleep, but that doesn't really explain the blood in the apartment. So, of course, blood in the apartment, meth lab, And there was really no leads and no other evidence besides that, and it kind of just left police, of course, baffled, because people came together to search for her and no other evidence of her was found, and no other witnesses came forward to have seen or heard anything on the night of her disappearance. So that's why a lot of people speculate that Christopher had something to do with it, possibly Christopher and Dana, even though Dana was at work. Her mom, actually, Heather's mom, has come forward and said that she highly believes that they are suspicious and that they did have something to do in the disappearance of her daughter, but of course this has not been proven and there isn't really any evidence that directly links them, just the fact that she happened to be at the house when she went missing. In 2002, some remains were found that were thought to be that of a young girl's body, and this raised huge speculations in the fact that it might have been Heather's body. Upon further investigation, they realized that this was not the body or the remains that belonged to Heather. So their search continued, and like I said, this happened in 1999, so almost exactly 30 years ago, which is a really, really long time. And it's really terrible to think that she was seen being carried out of this house, and that the people that seen her last may have something to do with it, and that there really isn't any other evidence, like nothing to go off of. I can imagine being her mother and just feeling so utterly helpless in this situation. Actually just recently been diagnosed with a very mild form of diabetes, so she needed medicine, and this became, you know, like a high risk alert, because she, even if she wasn't hurt, she potentially, without this medicine, could die. If you guys are familiar with diabetes, you know that you need insulin. So this kind of made everyone worry a little bit more that possibly she wasn't alive or wouldn't be for long, and there are 0 videos on this case. There's only one. It's a very small case with very little details, and I just feel like, you know, there's the chance that she's still alive, but at the same time, having clarity and closure to just have some kind of, you know, burial, some kind of body to be able to mourn the loss of that child, to not be able to know just if she's out there alive or if she isn't, is really heartbreaking. So I want to get this case up on the internet. I want people to know about it. It happened close to my hometown. That's Richmond Heights, Missouri. So definitely eerie to think about that she just vanished from this apartment complex. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please give it a like to get it more media exposure and coverage, because I had never heard of this case nor video before I had done further investigation on it, and there are very, very little details on the internet, very, very little CNN newscast, daily, you know, true, just there are no documentaries on the case of Heather. So I wanted to get this out there. She is said to have hazel eyes, brown hair, and of course she would be around the age of like 42 at this point. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in my next video.